Day 2 of the mid-season brawl. We've already started off in dominating fashion with Fnatic and that 2-0 victory prior. And it was very, very well fought, as we do have joining us now Mr. Grubby and, of course, Jay Howe. And you guys were watching that series unfold in the back. Fnatic looking good.
Yeah, not bad.
Thank you. Jay Howe?
Could be better.
Yeah, not bad at all. I mean, it's kind of what we expect from Fnatic now. Their playstyle is more aggressive early, and they are dominating people from beginning to end, and I like what I see 2 days in from Fnatic.
Great stuff, great stuff. It seems that Nomia still has a lot of chances, especially since they are still in that top 4 after taking a 2-0 and then losing a 2-0. You're still in an okay spot points-wise, which is important.
I mean, Nomia did what we didn't necessarily expect them to do yesterday with their 2-0 over SPT. This one, they were expected to lose. I think it was a very valuable and high-value lesson to be destroyed like that by Fnatic. I think there's a certain honor in it. And as for Fnatic's part, you know, honestly, they did fantastic. And it's really refreshing to see them make the moves that you don't generally see teams make that much. Oh yeah, we can take this keep. They're in the curse, like backdoor forward. That is just next level play, and Fnatic is here to school everyone a bit, it seems.
Opens up for the victory as well. Let's take a look at the groups and see what has happened so far. Refresh your memories and keep things on rolling here for the mid-season brawl, as we do have Group A that we're currently in the midst of, with the Fnatic 4-0 at the very top. But Fan, our next match is going to be Deadlykittens going up against Roll20, and Roll20 yesterday were extremely impressive.
Yeah, I think Roll20 definitely exceeded expectations yesterday by going 1-1 with MVP Black. I think a lot of people are going to be expecting a high performance out of this Roll20 team now. So going up against Deadlykittens, we saw yesterday Fnatic, you know, did the Fnatic thing and just completely crushed everything. So will Roll20 be able to kind of do the same?
When I think about that, I think that by going 1-1 with MVP Black, your expectations are instantly elevated. And is anything, they're expected to win here against Deadlykittens, expectation-wise anyways. Like, is it going to be a letdown if they don't dominate today? Or, I mean, are your expectations that high to where you're expected to come in and dominate your opponent today?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying, because, you know, if Roll20 wants to challenge Fnatic, I think that they should be dominating this matchup just like Fnatic did yesterday. So we'll have to see if that happens.
I mean, it certainly influences my perspective of it. When I look at yesterday, what happened, I'm like, I mean, I came in with good expectations for Roll20 because I always look at them and I'm like, they're a hard-working bunch. They've done well. They've progressed constantly. And then they show yesterday. So now my expectations feel like they've been significantly high. Is that fair to say, Grubby?
I think it's fair to say, at least from the perspective of Roll20.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm looking at Deadlykittens, and I'm seeing a team here where I really like their story and what they brought in yesterday when they were saying, like, okay, you know, we split apart and we looked for different options, but we found out that in our region, us 5, we're the best. We're meant to be together. This is the group that we have to work with. We don't have the luxury of roster shuffles. Yeah. And they seem to have matured a little bit. And I really like their story coming into this. For them too, they need to win this one if they want to get into that top 4. This is their direct competitor for a top 4 position.
Well, let's hear it from the team themselves, as of course we do have our first team here in this match. It's Deadlykittens, who have progressed from tournament to tournament.
For us, I think coming into this competition, a lot of people are saying that we won't make it very far. We are seen as the underdogs. For me, I see this as an advantage for us because no one is expecting us to do well. So I think if we are able to figure out the meta for this coming tournament, I think we can take a lot of people by surprise. Because our teams, we are made up of 2 Singaporeans and 3 Filipinos, we have some communication issue in terms of we are not able to understand each other, or they are not able to portray their message as well as they want to. Over the course of the last 2 months, we've been trying to understand each other beyond words. So we are trying to know how they think, how each other think. Winning the MSB will give us a huge sense of achievement because we have been playing for this game for a very long time now. We want to see some results, and hopefully this time around we are able to realize our dream.
Always good to hear from Deadlykittens here. We've met a lot of these guys throughout tournament, and they are back once again. They had a bit of a hard time against Fnatic not dissimilar to how a lot of teams are probably going to feel in this group stage. But it was a difficult road for them yesterday.
It was, and you kind of wonder what this team is going to bring. I had the pleasure of casting 2 regional events in Southeast Asia, and individually, they were split during February, and then in April they had reformed, as Grubby was talking about, kind of the old roster that was around last year. They make a lot of really good plays. They dominated their competition there, and so the potential is there. And obviously, they talked about working through some communication issues, you know, and I think he talked about if they win, right? But I think there's some validity to just taking games off of certain teams, and I think here, if they can get a game off, that's got to be a personal achievement, I think, for this team if they can get that.
I think that's fair to say. We did see some interesting choices from them in drafting yesterday as well. If you think about looking at Infernal Shrines game 2 there, where they were against Fnatic, we had like Ragnaros, Tassadar, and then it eventually went into Stitches, which didn't have much of the follow-up from the hook. It feels like Asia likes, just in general, Asia likes Stitches a bit more than everyone outside of Dignitas, which they have in their back pocket. So is that something that has to be a little bit concerning here, or?
I think it was a concern. There's definitely a lot of different stylistic variations between different regions, different ways to approach the game.
Yeah.
Do you want to play macro? Do you want to play micro? Are you killing structures or minions or heroes? There's so much variety. But at the same time, I think there are a few rules that we are learning together as a player base and as a pro scene. And I still don't think that picking Stitches into like quadruple hard engage is a valid strategy. Yes, you have Putrid Bile, but Hook is like a non-entity, like a non-ability. In this case, I feel like they let themselves down with the draft, and I hope for them, and also as a fan of their team, that it was a fluke and not something that they still think was valid.
I feel like the fan, they've got a lot to take from yesterday, not only in terms of going up against Roll20, who very clearly had a set strategy in mind that was going to even surprise the Koreans, but also just looking at what everyone did yesterday and then perhaps bring that into today.
Right, and you heard them talk a lot about meta and hoping that they can find the right meta for them as the tournament progresses. And that's something a lot of teams going into this tournament. I think as far as the meta goes for this tournament, it's a lot more diverse than for many of the other worlds, because you had the Genji patch pretty recently, then you had the Diva patch. These patches brought in these heroes, which are huge unknowns for a lot of teams, and then you also had the Dahaka and Tassadar changes. So this patch in particular, you know, a lot of teams have a lot of different metas, and no one is really sure whether or not their meta is the best. A lot of them want to adapt as the round robin stage goes on, so we can definitely see a huge improvement in terms of many of the teams' performances if they do manage to adapt.
All right, well, of course, we have on the flip side of this matchup a team that showed us some shock yesterday. It was very, very exciting. Of course, it is indeed Team Roll20.
In my opinion, what makes a good Heroes player or a good player in any competition really is discipline and patience. If you're a disciplined person, regardless of your natural talent, you should be able to reach the level you really want to with enough hard work. Lately, Prismaticism and Justin have been stepping up a lot. My team's strength is executing a plan very clean and crisp. I think we're really good at playing off of one another, and as long as we execute our plan properly, we're a strong team. When it comes to little individual situations in a game, sometimes we struggle, so I think that's our biggest weakness. I'd say I'm not particularly scared of any team here. I respect many teams, and the teams that I respect most are Fnatic, MVP Black, and L5. My expectations going into the Mid-Season Brawl should reflect everyone else's. This is a world-class event. We're all here hoping to be world-class teams. I think we should all be striving for first place.
That is Roll20. Right from the get-go, we have to mention and emphasize yesterday's result. It was 22-0 against MVP Black.
In takedowns, yeah.
Yes.
And a 1-1 overall score. They look better in their defeat against Black than Black did in their defeat against them. So in theory, they had like an advantageous 1-1, if you could say. But the score, of course, is as it is. But that was a very impressive opening, and they used two of their most renowned tools, Medivh and Diablo, together.
Right.
I wonder, because, you know, we get to sit here and we get to hear them behind the scenes and stuff like that. This is probably one of the most, if not the most vocal team that we heard throughout all yesterday. And I wonder, emotions were running extremely high during Game 1 and during Game 2, and a lot of it carried over to going into Game 2. And I wonder if maybe emotions. There might be an emotional letdown today. You might not be at your peak performance as you were picking up for yesterday, but Yoda seems to be feeling pretty good about himself.
Yes, he does, of course. The funny thing is that as well, we listened to, as you say, in the back, a lot of the teams afterwards and things like that. And I think the clear statement for a lot of people out there is like, they beat MVP Black with that. Not many people are going to let them have something like that again. And I think that's fair to say.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think you're going to see a lot more target banning towards Roll20 with either the Medivh or the Diablo. But once again, you can only choose so many heroes to ban too, to be precise. So, if they really want either the Medivh or the Diablo, they can get one of them in the first pick phase, and you can't get rid of everything. So it'll be interesting to see what people think are the most important picks to, keep from Team Roll20.
Here's our picks and bans of the maps. We'll have Battlefield of Eternity banned out, Cursed Hollow banned out. We're starting things on Infernal Shrines, and then afterwards, Tomb of the Spider Queen. Tomb of the Spider Queen, of course, that map that they did beat MVP Black on yesterday for Roll20. But starting on Infernal Shrines, what are we thinking about that for between these two teams? Any thoughts?
I don't want to see the Stitches again if you're on the side of Deadlykittens, which it surprised me. I've watched a lot of their games.
Yeah.
I was there firsthand. It kept a very standard draft approach, and so to see that Stitches come out game one on Infernal Shrines of all Battlegrounds really surprised me yesterday.
All right, into game number one's draft. Uther is going to be the first target here for Roll20, boys.
And I believe this is exactly what Fnatic did yesterday as well with the double Uther ban. So following that up, looks like Deadlykittens thinks that Medivh is the problem, which is interesting because Infernal Shrines is actually one of Diablo's best maps anyway, so we'll see if Roll20 wants to go for that route later.
The cool thing about when you approach a tournament like this, you should come up with 2 to 4 secret weapons minimum so that you can force those as bans, get really good at something that's not necessarily top meta, so that you can just adopt standard meta, like the general most strong heroes of the moment, which are Dahaka, Anubarak, Genji, Malf, Uther. So if you can take those instead of your pocket picks like Medivh, that's still okay.
Yeah.
They already open up with Dahaka, which is completely fine with them. So Roll20, through their victory against MVP Black, have earned a free ban here.
It's a great idea that you actually bring up, because you say those big power plays, like those, for example, every team should come in understanding and being able to utilize those and just have an expansion around it.
The Anubarak pick, though, again, it was led through by Roll20, which, as you said, generally in our current meta has been traditionally kind of like first pick potential over a potential Dahaka, unless the global, you prioritize the global that much. So it means that Roll20 is comfortable going into something else, potentially the Diablo. Johann is kind of the fallback option for them on this. But to me, Deadlykittens, I think when I talk to them, admittedly, they just never traditionally played a lot of Anubarak. So the fact that they're now adapting that strategy to their own, recognizing that around the world, it's been super impactful, they're changing it up a bit themselves.
I feel like right now, when you play heroes, you need to master Anubarak just like a runner needs to master running. It's just part of the game now. Like, you can't come here and say, oh yeah, we're not that good with Anubarak, so you gotta try.
Yeah, definitely a top meta pick. And this game, like, speaking of top meta picks, I think we have pretty much all 5 of them in the first 5 picks here. We have the Anubarak, Greymane, Dahaka, Malf, Genji. So both teams are going with standard meta picks for the first section, which is really cool because after the second ban phase, I think that's where the secrets are really going to start coming out. That's where each team is going to take their individual style into account.
Yeah, I think that's exactly how this current patch is working out. First half, gotta do your due diligence, do these 6, and then the second half, you can diversify.
Yep. See a Zeratul ban being hovered here. Obviously, Cloud is also known for playing Zeratul in the past before he started on his Medivh. So,
but Fan, do you know if player pool-wise this makes sense? Is it between Genji and Dahaka? Isn't Glarung's hero already spoken for?
I think that you're right. I think between the 2 of those, most likely Glarung is spoken for, but there is a situation where you would see perhaps Yoda on the Dahaka and then Prismaticism on the Genji. He actually plays a pretty good Genji as well, and that would free up the Cloud hero if they wanted.
Okay, but that would mean that you have Zeratul and a tank. That means you have only one range Genji. It would have been interesting.
Yeah, it's not the most optimal draft if they do go for the Zeratul, but it looks like Deadlykittens is more focused on trying to kind of ban out Glarung. This is a strategy that was more common in North America earlier on in the 2016. So it looks like they're going with that style of strategy.
Well, I think it's a wasted ban, Zeratul.
Yeah, I don't love it. I don't love it.
I wonder here with Deadlykittens if they're, you know, they obviously need to fill that other melee role, and you've got Genji, you've got things like that, that if you can get on that back line, you need to have good shrine clear, and then you need to have something else. And I wonder, I was going to say Sonya, but D.Va.
I love the D.Va. I've been saying this all tournament. I'm not going to stop saying it. By the end of the tournament, D.Va, 1 to 3 pick or ban. Like, it's going to be good on Infernal Shrine specifically.
Now, I don't want D.Va to be neutered in any way, so if Blizzard could just turn off their speakers for a bit, but I think she's kind of strong.
The D.Va separation that we saw yesterday towards against Dignitas, it was kind of like split. The minute somebody comes anywhere on your side of the shrine, you just kind of split them. And it was kind of remarkable last year in Spring Global. Dreadnought and I were talking about this last year. I remember it was Diablo on Infernal Shrines. They played as a team rotating around. Tyrael Abathur.
Going with a very heavy dive composition there. You do have the Genji Abathur synergy. Kind of works like Zeratul Abathur in the case where you can dive a backline really hard, and they will die really quickly if no one is peeling for them. So
it's funny, Deadlykittens said in the pre-game interview 2 days ago that D.Va is a pretty fun hero. Koreans are kind of playing her, but we'll see her maybe 1 out of 10 games. We are now in game number 15, and this is the 4th time we see D.Va, so they're actively ruining that stat.
Alarak comes in.
Cool, first Alarak of the turn, you know?
Wow, Alarak last pick. Yeah, from my personal experience, I've been playing some Alarak in like Grandmaster Hero League in North America on Inferno Shrines. It's actually not as bad as you think it would be. It's not a map that you normally think of Alarak, like BOE would be the map you think of Alarak on, I think, or maybe Tomb. But on Inferno, people are still really, really clumped, so it's not a bad pick.
I like that you have to mention that it's Grandmaster Hero League. It's like, we accept you were a world champion. We know you're good. Like, that's fine.
I was playing Alarak in bronze, you know, Inferno Shrines.
I'll still accept your opinion. That's fine. But looking at the composition for Roll20 here, it seems very similar. I mean, yes, it was different maps. Sky Temple was Fnatic's first map, but it seems almost identical to Fnatic's first draft.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, with a slight variance on Uther, Malfurion over Uther, and then Tyrael over Varian. But everything else gives them the same opportunity to be as aggressive as Fnatic was on that Sky Temple map, surely.
Yeah, that's true. We could, yeah, I don't think it's going to be Judgment this time, though. But, like, in terms of the draft, you've got this highly mobile map control type of composition. In that sense.
You're alluding to the second map. I was alluding to the first map of Sky Temple, where they didn't have Tyrael.
Yeah, it's Abathur, Varian, Genji, Uther, Dahaka. It's still like a very survivable team that doesn't need to take fights unless they want to.
But that's the thing is, like, with the composition that Deadlykittens picked up, I mean, your opportunities, we saw in the previous series a Genji Abathur diving backline type scenario. Right. Your only backline is Greymane, who's not an easy kill. He can hop into Worgen form, has that built-in armor, things like that. So it's kind of like, are your opportunities actually going to be there when it matters? And so it's going to be a lot of frontline control. I imagine we'll see a little bit more hatting of the Tyrael, more of the frontline heroes, as opposed to the flanking Genji, because where does the flanking Genji really become impactful?
And the cool thing is that Rhaegar and Alarak, I think, are the primary targets. Like, Rhaegar cannot self-cleanse, and Alarak, once he uses his combo, if he doesn't kill someone, generally he becomes like a huge target.
Yeah.
But there's so many layers of protection here for Deadlykittens. Alarak can go into Counter-Strike mode. You've got Ancestral and Cleanse. D.Va can push away the enemy team if they try to hard engage. She can shine her light to reduce their damage. There's a lot of ways. Cocoon, Impale, Burrow Charge. Yep. So I really like Deadlykittens' defensive tools here.
All right, well, I want to get predictions. I'll stop down there.
As much as I like the draft out of Deadlykittens, I am going to go on Roll20 side just based on experience and overall skill.
Abathur is always a big playmaker. Yeah. There is 2 heroes that don't wave clear too well, so that concerns me. But if Deadlykittens can control the map, I do believe they have the better team fight. I'm going to go on a YOLO here and say Deadlykittens.
Okay. Fan?
To be honest, I like Deadlykittens draft a lot more than Roll20's in this map. Roll20, they pretty much have no way of getting the objective, so they have to either, you know, split soak or just win team fights. Now, I think they're going to still do that, but I do think that they were outdrafted this game. But I'm going with Roll20. I think they have the individual skill to take it.
For me, I'm praying for a self-destruction and telekinesis back into the self-destruction. I would love that. That would be fantastic. But thank you very much, guys, as we do get into our next game coming up. Once again, we're going to have Gilly and Trixler to bring you this game between Roll20 and Deadlykittens.
Trixler, if there's one thing I learned about the SEA Regional is Deadlykittens are not afraid to draft a lot of melees. They've played a lot of double melee assassin compositions. We're getting another one here as we get into our next series of the day.
It's exciting, man. Alarak versus Genji. Ooh la la. On the left side here, Deadlykittens. Mur on a Nubrak, Zaze on Greymane, Innover on Diva, Stronger on Rhaegar, I love his name, NSJ on Alarak.
And their opponents representing the region of North America is Roll20 with Yoda playing Dahaka, Buds playing Malfurion, Glaurung playing Genji, Justing playing Tyrael, and Abathur will be played by Prismaticism.
I'm very curious to see how Roll20 is going to approach this battleground, especially around the Shrine phase. And I feel like I agree with Van here. There has to be a one-team fight, or Roll20 needs to have some kind of advantage going into the Shrine phase to be effective at clearing it. Whereas Deadlykittens, they have so much control here and clear. You have Greymane, who does pretty well already on the Shrines. You have Diva that can get in there and just be a pure nuisance. Rhaegar clears too. And then you have Alarak. If there's ever a moment where someone's coming through a corridor, he's very Diablo-like. He brings out a combo, gets someone silenced, and there's a kill. I'm hoping Roll20 is going to be on point today.
Yeah, now of course we've got Diva being the bruiser, the warrior, but still being able to do a lot of damage. We'll see how that build is going to go in, if it still is going to be the same that we saw from Fat94 use, where it's all focused on being able to consistently have your mech up, but be able to use self-destruct and not have to worry about being in pilot mode too much when you're far more vulnerable. And that's key for Deadlykittens because of the pure just jumping in power, right? The dive power of Roll20 with a possible double Genji.
Deadlykittens will be on point, but the power cannot be ignored here. Now, I am curious to see how Abathur will be used throughout this entire battleground. In the past, specifically the Western Clash, Roll20 went on a tangent of using Abathur as a means of double soaking and putting 4 people in one lane and going for aggressive pushes. Here, they're putting 2 on the top to rotate between the 2 lanes. They head to the middle when they want to come in for a gank, and they put 2 on the bottom. In fact, here is one of those ganks. The silence comes out instantly, though, as Yoda will be silenced out, but Roll20 has brought everyone in.
Yeah, Roll20 in doing this back and forth between top and bottom allows them to all converge in the center when necessary. The thing is, with combos, you just have to watch your positioning, and SJ showing his capacity to be able to land those. We're going to have the first Shrine activating, and I'm curious to see how Roll20 sets up for this. There are several times in NA where they're willing to completely give up Shrines. This is, by far, without a doubt, Roll20's favorite battleground. If it is not banned against them, they are going to pick it. So they always have these non-traditional Shrine approaches, and here we're seeing the start of one of them.
They seem to have a really solid idea of how they want to take the flow of the battleground and move it in their way. Look in the top right. They're pushing in with Dahaka and Genji. They're breaking down turrets. Diva can hold this, but she's not going to do anything threatening. She won't get any kills. She'll boot people around occasionally, but they will get these turrets no matter what they do, especially with the Abathur hat sitting here to help out with the clear. So Roll20 going for experience and pressure on a different lane here instead of focusing down the Shrine. And Deadlykittens spread out pretty well. Alarak in the middle, Diva on the top. They're soaking all 3 lanes and also clearing out the Shrine at the same time, so they should be able to get some pressure.
Glaurung and Yoda were able to pull Innover up so that Diva wasn't one of the heroes on the Shrine, but even still, not contesting it at all, just trying to open up the forts for later Punishers if they get them, or later Abathur pushes if they're able to delay around a Shrine for a long time. Roll20 now needs to clean up this Punisher in short order, while Deadlykittens are going to try to get as much as they can done with this Punisher, trying to get damage and open up the other side of the battleground. But the fight is starting. Here comes Yoda, and Justing from the side gets stopped by Nubarak. Really thought that they might be able to get him away, but no, Rhaegar still falls.
And Glaurung on the left side here will be able to strike on out, but Alarak gets rooted, and that's going to be 2 takedowns. Roll20 going in for the engage. They're looking for a third here. Can they get it? Glaurung looking, but a bit fearful there, low on health. Don't want to die past those turrets.
So I saw the Medivh ban, and I wondered if immediately we'd start getting those Medivh bans, because once you see a team like Roll20 take a... Oh!
Hang on, Pred comes out, he jumps over the wall,
nice.
And Glaurung will use the field of vision there to get away from the fight. Nice little trap of the Kittens, but not quite enough damage. That Impale missing really hurt.
Yes, and a good rotation back from Buds in an instant. Cyber agility over the wall to get time for Buds to come in and get the heal. Now, talking about the Medivh ban, obviously, when you see a team of Roll20 be able to get a shutout game over a team like MVP Black, and you know that, man, okay, this team is on a whole other level when they have their comfort picks. But Roll20 is always very adaptive in their drafting because they have a lot of those picks that many people, different people can play. And Genji is one of them now that they've been able to add just recently. Both Glaurung and Prismaticism playing him. So it's cool to be able to see that they're still making things work despite the fact that they didn't get their Medivh this game. And frankly, by doing that well, they might not ever get him again this tournament.
I mean, so far they are doing well. The constant harasser in the bottom, and they're getting to a point where Deadlykittens are matching him on their game. They're bringing 4 people to fall around this 4-man rotation, which means Abathur, in the long run, gets value. He's soaking in the middle lane, even against its diva, while also hatting in the top lane. And you can see the experience leading. 8.5 to almost 8 here for the Kittens. At some point, Deadlykittens now need to get to a fight that they can win, or stop dying, and also soak at the same time. They're starting to play the game here of the North American team. Roll20 is in a good spot because of how they're getting Deadlykittens to dictate and change the way they play. Kittens at this point need to roll back a little bit, focus on clearing out, and just stay on top of these shrines. That's their main game. That's what their composition does so well.
Yeah, they have the possibilities now of being able to do that because there is another shrine up. The problem is that experience deficit, about a half level down, trying to soak all the lanes, clear out those mercenary camps that Roll20 timed well with this shrine phase. How far ahead Roll20 gets dictates what Deadlykittens does next. If they're able to get in here and actually fight, or if they have to do something else, like try to just push another lane and try to maybe take something out. They still feel like they can contest the shrine. As the panel mentioned, it takes Roll20 a little while to be able to get these shrines taken out.
That it does. So Deadlykittens will take the moment here to go ahead and push in. And this is the kind of last moment before 10 is hit here for Roll20. They need to use this power, be aggressive, and kind of bully out their opponents from this area. And they will do so. Now Roll20 coming in as Yoda will burrow stock on the left side here, going for a fight. There's going to be an impale right on top of Yoda. Zaze jumps in and probably some damage, but overall, no one really falling too quickly here for Roll20, and they're getting closer and closer to 10.
They're looking for Justing, but Justing had a nice Eldraine Might for a juke. Discord Strike connects with Glaurung, but he still has Deflect. Inniver getting low. Mortar Punisher grabbed and by the Deadlykittens, and just in the nick of time before Roll20 got heroic abilities. Very well done by the Kittens.
Yes, they had to grab that shrine, and they do so. Now it's all about focusing and getting back to 10 here, tie up the game, and be at a spot where you can start to have those fights with your heroic powers. So Deadlykittens will poke around here in the middle, but not expecting anything too serious. However, we see NSJ move in for a combo on Justing with the hat and buds here for the healing, though. Justing should not fall victim, but look at Glaurung here on the back left side. He wants to jump in if Deadlykittens go too far.
Stronger spotted this out, but nobody's leaving from Deadlykittens. A double jump onto Alarak. He uses Counter-Strike, but it doesn't connect with anybody. Glaurung has his Dragon Blade, but is fairly low. Buds was caught in a cocoon, so now he just now is being able to start healing everybody else up. Prismaticism, Swift strikes through. They have the bomb, self-destruct. Glaurung still on the chase, gets hit. Discord Strike, first kill is Deadlykittens.
Deadlykittens with the control in the fight. I also love that bomb. The moment his identification came out, the bomb was dropped. If anyone stayed in that area and continued fighting, they risked either getting into a spot where they died or they couldn't go in for kills. So half of Roll20 pulled away, but Glaurung went in for the engage because he had an Abathur hat, and he got picked off because everyone from Deadlykittens turned around and got the takedown. Great fight overall from both teams, but Deadlykittens edges out.
And that allows them to even up the game significantly, taking out the first fort. And there's another fort that's low too. Deadlykittens have been able to keep up with Roll20 in the laning phase. Here's a drag though that connects, and Inniver doesn't have self-destruct. It's gonna pop on out of here and won't be in a great spot to leave the mecha.
That's
kill.
One of the hardest things to deal with as a diva, a Malfurion root. If it hits while you're about to fall out of the mech form, you fall square in the middle of that root and you get rooted a second time. There was a pickoff, and Roll20 answers backs from that kill, but Deadlykittens did get a fort in the middle. They're starting to open up the map here. All they have to do is keep to make sure that they're on that experience gain in the middle, because they've missed 2 waves so far in that top lane, which is why they're a full level behind. I would love for them to be a little bit more effective here in their clear.
Roll20 going back to what they excel at on Infernal Shrines, just trying to make sure that they are the ones controlling the mercenary camps, especially the bottom Khazra whenever they can. Timing them out with the shrines too, and they're starting to get back that experience lead that they had before. We've got a pause on the field.
tactical pause here to think about the 13 talents. Always great to do in the middle of the game. Get yourself nice and set up.
13 talent here is the most impactful one when you think about it.
That's the moment that you have to think a couple of times and get set up to move in. So far, though, I like what both teams have been doing. Roll20 doing much better than I expected, especially with their composition. Not worrying too much about the shrines, but doing well with the Abathurs, soaking in their lanes, getting into team fights. Really, the major point that has really hurt them was when the Sanctification came out and that bomb. That's the only moment that I've had a moment of, okay, Roll20, maybe you got to get on the same page of what you want to do. Do you want to pull back, go for a hard engage? But overall, this game has been pretty equal.
Yes, it does change up, or it should change up how Roll20 approach the next fights, right? They either need to wait for that self-destruct to happen, maybe around a shrine, and then use Sanctification at the forefront, maybe allow Genji to dive back in with them. Got the pause figured out. We're back into the game for now with the next shrine activating. We'll see how that next fight goes.
Yeah, and to continue your point, they also have the option of going full on aggressive. Just go ahead and get a kill right away when that comes out. You can jump on top of D.Va and then go for the disengage. We'll see how Roll20 will take on that fight here as the Deadlykittens are moving down. They have spotted Glaurung here on the mercenary camp. Stronger goes in, but the call has been made to pull on back with Yoda rush talking in.
Yoda's in, which means everyone's here ready for the fight. Glaurung's going to jump in, as well as Prismaticism with that clone.
Glaurung goes in, but does get out. We're going to have D.Va getting poked pretty aggressively here. Gets rooted on the left side and will pull away. She does have the bomb available, so we could have an engage here, as Roll20 has started the shrine on the right side. Deadlykittens deals with the Impalers first, allows for the heals to start popping in here for D.Va in particular, and they should be able to start rotating in if they want to contest soon.
You know, for Roll20, I love that they focus that D.Va, because focusing her maybe means that she can't self-destruct in the optimal position. Justing's been pulled in, has to use Sanctification again, but it does negate the damage from the self-destruct this time.
Yes, that was a different side here. Roll20 has adapted. They held their Sanct for when the bomb came out. They also used it because Malfurion was going to get hit by the D.Va explosion, but they burned down him just in time. Malfurion was able to get on out away from the fight, and Roll20 continues to move forward. They're actually leading on the shrine here, 24-15.
Yoda's right in the middle with his Dark Swarm. Twilight Dream, perfect from Buds, but Ancestral healing as well from the other side, healing and keeping NSJ in the game. No combo yet, looking for that optimal position to do so. Mur seeing if he can dive in from the side to follow up. Not finding it, not being in the lead in Skeletal Defenders. Deadlykittens have to step back. Roll20 now gets their Punisher.
Big call out there to Stronger. Stronger's been on point with this Rhaegar. The only reason why they started to lose that fight was actually he was running out of mana, which is one of the issues that Rhaegar has, especially in long, drawn-out fights. And eventually, that's what actually prevented Deadlykittens from keeping up with that engage. Roll20 taking the option here to charge on in. Zay's low on health. The last auto attack will be enough. Prismatic helping out in the kill as well, with NSJ slowly telekinesing away from the fight, but still one member down, and Roll20 pushing with a Punisher.
D.Va has found Abathur in the top lane. There's not getting out of here unless he can burrow away. He does Deep Tunnel. There was nothing that D.Va could do there.
Unfortunate. It must have used his, the booster to actually find Abathur to originally get there, or could have stopped that from occurring, and Abathur will get away just barely. The defense holds here in the bottom, but the keep wall has been burned down, and Roll20 is on their way to level 16 and doing very well in these team fights.
So looking at what we have within builds, we have a
there's a bush here in the bottom left. Roll20 going in for it. Stronger walks in. He's able to get out, and he drops the B step. We're going to have NSG on the left side here. Will he start a fight? No. Greymane's already in the top left working on Mercenary Camp, so Deadlykittens will survive a bush.
Considering that Roll20 were still able to take that, try to get picks, but they did know that there were a lot of the members missing from that, so they did have the numbers advantage, even though they hadn't gotten 16 yet. Looking at Abathur build, it's not the same hat build that we saw with the last Genji. Instead, way more focused on that split push possibilities with that, plus the nests too. Even getting survival instincts at level 1, so very focused on having the locusts. And if Roll20 are able to keep Deadlykittens at the shrines, the next shrine fight for a long time, he can start to put on the siege. Potentially wherever it is, hopefully in the bottom lane, since they've already opened up that keep.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite Abathur builds, actually. Just dropping into a lane, especially during the shrine phase. If you go to the opposite side of the map, you can break down a fort. If you get a few things built out, really bring down your opponent and just slowly kill them through 1,000 cuts, which is one of my favorite ways to take down my opponents, if you will. So Deadlykittens and Roll will have to deal with the pressure from Roll20, but they are still a level behind, and they're going to work desperately here to get to that 16 before the next shrine phase, which will be connecting soon.
For you Alarak fans talking about the quest, Extended Lightning was completed, so he was even able to get the Sadism back from hitting 3 heroes with a single cast. Still working on Chaos Reigns, though, to try to finish that out as well.
I'll be finishing up soon here. Zay's in trouble on the bottom left. Gonna have Yoda silence. He's gonna pull on back, pops his essence, and will burrow away. Adjusting with the Holy Grail will make sure that this fight does conclude, but NSJ taking damage. Prismatic going in, diving in. He actually gets a kill on Alarak.
Nicely done, all by a Genji clone to get a kill at the start of this Shrine phase. Now how do Deadlykittens deal with it? Even almost getting the well.
Most effective clone today, I would say, as Abathur really bringing in the noise. 16 does hit for Deadlykittens, but 19 seconds. We do not have an Alarak on the field. We also have a D.Va mech burned out as well in the top left corner, so Deadlykittens definitely on the back foot here, but we'll take some time here to contest the shrines.
Innover is caught. No mecha. Glaurung takes her out with one fell swoop, but gets caught from a lot of Deadlykittens. Sanctification has to be burned. Now everyone on the retreat. Stronger caught by Holy Ground. Twilight Dream just to try to confirm the kill, but the Cocoon saves the day for Stronger, at least for now. Glaurung trying to make sure that they can get the kill. The rest of the team, though, protects their support.
The support is saved, but the assassin is down. Greymane not up for 30 seconds, and Roll20 has done what they needed to do. Win a team fight in the early game, and then they can take the time to burn out the shrine, and they're going to go and start doing so, taking a lead here 11-10. For another 20 seconds, Greymane will not be on the field, so you have to wonder if Deadlykittens will just go ahead and give up the shrine phase. Oh my gosh, the Kittens need to be careful here. This is the third time in a row members that are left on their own in the lane have been attacked by Roll20. They are not stopping the pressure. So now you need to get to a point where you start getting a little bit more reclusive. Stay near your turrets, get your team as a 5, and then move in for rotation.
The cool thing about every time that Roll20 does that is it not only makes whatever mercenary camps or minion push you have last a little bit longer and more effective because you're stalling that out, but also make sure to relieve pressure off of their Abathur, who wants to be out in the lane. We see Prismaticism every time at midpoint or even potentially further as he's trying to start pressuring a keep. So it's nice that they're able to just make sure to keep all the attention elsewhere as far away from Abathur as they can.
That's a really good point. Abathur right now working on that bottom as you're mentioning, while all 5 members are in the middle here. 4 Deadlykittens as they defend Roll20 and their push. The fort will fall, and Roll20 has now found a nice cushion in this game as they're moving towards level 20. These turrets could be burned out, and that'll get them a little bit right away from 20. If they can get a kill, they can go in for fights, and if 1 or 2 people fall, that could be a point where Roll20 goes in for some hard engages.
Sanctification just came online, but no 20 yet, and not willing to risk it at this point. It is most certainly Roll20's game to lose. So once they get 20, once they get some pressure, once they force positioning of Deadlykittens and get a more optimal fight that's not underneath the keep, especially with self-destruct.
Yeah, you definitely won't get knocked into that. Cocoon also can force you to fight at a 5v4, and that member can clean up afterwards. It's one of the greatest ways to throw, diving in a little bit too early before 20 hits, and with the tools that Deadlykittens have, especially Alarak with that silence, yeah, you could really be taken out. Deadlykittens now are at a point where they have to run next to each other. They have to soak to level 20, and they have to watch out for any ganks into certain bushes, and there's one right there. Here comes Glaurung charging forward. Dragon Blade has been popped.
Sanctification 2, Swift Strike from Prismaticism takes him out before Ancestral Healing can connect. Now they're trying to run away. This is going to put a few of the members in self-destruct, but great Ice Block, great Deflect 2 from Glaurung keeps everyone nice and even healthy at this point. 2 quick kills for the members of Roll20, and they claim a keep.
Yes, they'll take it right here, and they'll push on in. Glaurung even looking a little bit more aggressive, but will pull away. No real major auto attack damage here to move in for our core. You can't just straight up burn it down, so Roll20 will take the safe approach here and continue to control the map. Look at the map right now. Fully red in the bottom, red in the middle, and red in the top here as all 3 lanes will be pushed out of there, going into full effect for the moment.
Even Yoda hanging out in the bottom too, in case they think maybe there could be a potential for a drag, or even just to protect and keep that lane continually pushed like that. But Tahaka now burrowing up, brush talking to help the team, using these bruisers, and look, Trixler, where the shrine will spawn.
Oh, unfortunate here in the very top, which will allow Abathur to keep that pressure up. Buds in the top left is in trouble, though. Emergo's in for a gauge. They're getting him low on health. One more auto tech, and there it is. Deadlykittens fighting levels behind, but making it work here. No support for Roll20.
That was a huge combo, too. Lots of silences on Roll20, but Rhaegar's been taken out, so this is a supportless versus supportless comp at this point. Who will reign supreme? So far, Roll20 making it work with the sheer power of their self-defense and the level 20 talents. Innover's mech has been bursted down, did not choose to use self-destruct there. I think he had enough still.
Barely missing out on it, but that one kill does get Deadlykittens closer to their goal of moving towards 20. But look at the bottom lane. Remember, you mentioned it. Abathur is now putting damage here on this turret, clearing out these lanes, and that keep, if no one comes down to clear that out, will start taking damage soon. D.Va will be elected to move down to defend that lane, but this opens up opportunities for Roll20 to start looking for kills, and they're doing more here as they go in for Mirth.
Every time they find someone trying to defend, they punish it. There's no way of getting out for a new Barak. And Roll20 claims another kill, 12 kills to 2 in this game. Deadlykittens desperate for level 20.
I'm just having flashbacks to Hero League right now, where you're constantly saying, stop staggering deaths, because that's what's hurting Deadlykittens so much right now. And you can't blame them. They're trying to get to level 20, and they would assume your opponent's up in the top Punisher, clearing it out. But you need to keep an eye on that bottom right corner to see if that number is going up before you do anything to overextend, because that kill could come your way. They have 30 seconds before a new Barak is even on the field. The good news, they do have 20, so they can have a solid defense, but it is a little bit more difficult. With that keep not being in the middle, it's difficult to take that Punisher that's coming in and bait it to certain keeps to be cleared out.
Very cool Jungha-esque build coming out from NSJ's Alarak, getting both Deadly Charge and Counter-Strike, so has the self-protection as well as the possibility of diving in. If he finds a juicy Malfurion, possibly, although needs to watch out, of course, for Twilight Dream from that.
Girl, I love me a juicy Malfurion. If you can get that pick off, oh, it feels so good. We'll see if Deadlykittens can pull that off there. That Alarak, you're right. If there goes an Evolution clone here and they survive through the double Genjis that have it coming their way, the Deadly Strike into an engage can be great for a counterattack. But for now, they have to watch for this push coming in the top lane. This is an Arcane Punisher. It's one of the most deadly.
Yeah, this is a possible game-winning push at this point. But Innover still has self-destruct. That is key. Good combo possibilities, too. Pulling someone into the keep might be another way of, or pulling someone into the self-destruct at the last second. It all comes down to this.
Larong trying to force cooldowns here, jumps into the fight, will Swift Strike away. The bomb does go off on the top left. Yoda takes damage from it. Or NSG keeping on the side here, looking for a combo if possible, but Tyrael constantly setting up those holy grounds is threat enough to force Deadlykittens to pull on back.
That's it. They're feeling it.
Silence.
They have the Dragon Blade Sanctification too, going after Innover now, who gets Ancestral Healing. But there's already 2 members gone for Deadlykittens. Roll20 has found their opening, and they will take it, taking out Deadlykittens in game 1.
Roll20 being slow, methodical, and towards the end here, they have the big explosive fight to move in for the engage, and they will get the victory over the Deadlykittens. Gotta yell out, man. The staggered deaths really hurting there.
Yeah, a little bit of panic possibly coming in from our team, from SEA, but it's hard when you are desperate to catch up in talent tiers because you know that you have good shrine control. It's just a problem of when you are on Infernal Shrines like that, just consistently being behind every single shrine, it can make anyone start to panic.
That Force Chaos hurting. Let's go to our panel and get their thoughts on the game.
Thank you, fellas. Indeed, good start there by Roll20, showing that a Genji plus another Genji makes for some good Genjiing. That was quite a poor Alarak dying to Genji in the mid. Not even the real Genji, of course. So a really good start there by Roll20.
Yeah, Roll20 played fantastic. Communication once again was on point. The shot calling reverberated through our studio here. The calls were good. The aggression was on point, and I feel like they made a good strategy with the Abathur build as well. And they played it out pretty much to perfection. They made Deadlykittens look chanceless.
It was interesting because the first few D.Va, the mech explosion there in the mid lane, they showed that it can work. I think if they refined it a little bit more, maybe their chances go up a little bit. But I think it was definitely in favor of Roll20 there.
Well, Fan, I'm getting word that you already have a replay for us.
Yeah, so I have a replay of the 17 versus 20 fight here. So if we can just pause right here. So what I want to talk about in this replay is how Roll20, how they really force when they have 20 advantage. So you see Roll20, they just turned level 20 here, and no hesitation. They're camping the bush. As soon as they bush check, you see Glarong goes in. The clone is going to get popped in just a second here. He immediately pops Dragon Blade here. Dragon Blading on to as many people as he can. The cooldown is popped. And what you're going to notice is they have no fear. They're going to pop Sanctification right here. They're going to use all of their 20 ultimates. You're going to see a Bolt Dream later on down the line here. They know they have level 20, and most teams, most teams will actually be afraid of forcing into a keep like this, even with 20 advantage. But this is what I want to see from them. They understand that their composition is really all about the team fight. fights outside of the shrines. That's where they excel. So every time they get a chance to team fight, they take it, and they take it decisively. So if we can just roll the clip, you can see without any hesitation, they just drop all their ultimates, even diving the keep there. They know they're stronger. They understand their win condition. They understand that they want the fights like these, especially when it's 20 versus 17. And, picks like these, that's what got them the advantage. We saw that in the end, Deadlykittens actually did manage to get to level 20. If they didn't make plays like these when they were ahead, Deadlykittens might have gotten a 20-20 fight on the shrine. And if Deadlykittens, they drafted their composition all around the shrine. So if they could have done something like that, Roll20 could have been put in a bad spot. But because they forced while they were ahead, that it never got to that point.
There was a moment yesterday when I said when our Benjamin was here with us, that the Diva, when that was released, it felt like he'd found his hero. But for as much as, Glaurung has gotten a lot of heroes, it feels like he's really found one of his new heroes in Genji. It feels like it embodies a lot of the aggression he's able to use in a melee stance. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I think so. It was also very well played around with by the team. When he wants to go in with Genji, he'll shout, "Get your sanctification ready." Didn't always work out, but for the most part it did. He's very aggressive, and I think that's part of the key how Roll20 was able to get that victory off of MVP Black yesterday.
Right.
They are an aggressive team. They will look for the team fight on heroic cooldown again and again. And they just look really good while doing it.
I guess the question is now, obviously we've got a day under our belt, so Deadlykittens knows what Glaurung likes to play. Coming into Tomb, we saw Diablo and Medivh yesterday. You saw Genji up close and personal. You've got to pick. What do you want to go against at this point? And both of them are terrifying.
That is why you can't come into tournaments like this with banned strategies. You must have pick comforts that mirror the opponent's pick, because sooner or later you'll walk into a wall where you say, okay, Medivh, Diablo, and Genji are all problems for us. We can only ban one. We must pick one of them. Oh, darn it. We don't have anyone that picks Diablo or Medivh or Genji. That's a problem. So that is very important for drafts.